Good morning, social media nation. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, good morning, Zach. How's it going? What
Where's
the
the
heck's up with the getup, man? What's with the getup?
Can't hear? Bob, I can't
Oh,
hear
you
it.
can't hear me, guys.
There we go. Now I can.
Oh no, okay. So, so,
I don't know
so
what
good
happened.
morning, and what's with the getup?
I don't know. It's summer, baby. It
It's
is
summer,
summer,
okay.
and it's gonna be a hot one today. So I just want to dress up for the occasion. It's gonna be a hot one.
Yeah, it is going to be a warm one for sure. And from what I understand, the next couple days, yeah, kind of the same. Tuesday is going to be the scorcher, I guess.
Well, no, they were talking about 105 possibly today, but
Oh, really? Okay.
oh yeah, this afternoon is supposed to get really, really hot.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, we're
I,
having
I
heat
know I got a
warnings,
warning for Tuesday on my phone, but interesting.
or was
Well,
it Tuesday?
welcome to the Pine Point Sunday Morning Show. It's Zach and Bob here on a Sunday morning. Hey guys, sorry I missed last week. Actually, I'll be honest with you, totally honest, transparency. About 10 minutes. I've got. Oh, am I waking up the baby?
No.
I'm getting a little animated here, but no, about 10 minutes till I've got an alarm set, so I know I don't miss the live show. And last year, as you guys know, last week I should say, as you guys know, I was down in North Carolina with visiting my youngest daughter with my oldest daughter. We flew down, and about 10 minutes to my alarm goes off, and I'm going, oh my God, I got a live show in 10 minutes. And I wasn't in a position to go ahead and jump on, guys. Sorry about that. But hey, Zach, you did a great job, man.
What? I was in and out like a mofo, man. It was real quick, you know. I just didn't
Yeah,
have the time, you know. It was
yeah.
super nice out. It was Father's Day, and you know what the worst part of it is? I was all excited about going fishing. I didn't go no fishing.
You didn't go fishing.
I went casting.
You
There
went
was no way
cast.
I was fishing. I was just casting. Those
Okay.
those fish know me so well that they know how to sneak up to my line, take the bait, and run.
So you got a little nibble, but that's about it.
No, 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 I don't even think I got a nibble. I barely felt
You,
anything
you,
move.
they were that sneaky. They just
Yeah.
grabbed it without you even knowing.
Every time I thought I caught something, I was just pulling in more grass.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I've had those moments in fishing myself. I haven't fished in many years actually. For me, yeah, fishing. I go out. I kind of cast the line. I kind of find the closest rock, and I'll kind of set it in there. And of course, you got to pop a beer
Oh,
or something like that while you're fishing, right?
oh no, 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 Bob! You got to do it the way we do fishing.
Oh,
I never knew fishing like I know fishing now. It's like a mix of swimming and fishing. So
swimming and
literally,
fishing.
you got to literally cast the pole, do the backstroke, and no, I'm just kidding. No, literally, we go. So my brother, I never thought of this because growing up, you always go to the dock, but there's never enough room on the dock. Everyone
Right.
wants the dock. Everybody wants the mainland. No, you find a spot, dude. You put some water shoes on. You walk out to your waist deep and
Yep.
start casting.
Yeah. Almost like
It
a
is
fly
the
fishing.
best thing out there.
Yeah.
See,
Interesting.
I don't even
Uh,
stop there at casting though. See, the whole time I'm out in the water, literally, I was up to here last week, like up to my,
okay.
but it was so rough water that it felt like I was in the ocean because I had waves like, oh,
Oh yeah, nice.
I was just all over the place. I just could not stand. I almost fell over a couple times.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
but it was cold. It was major cold that day. I'll
Yeah,
tell you that it
yeah,
was cold.
yeah. That's interesting. But so it sounds like you had a good time, though. You're going back and bobbing in the waves.
I don't know. I was kind of depressed. Bob didn't show up to the show, and I was like, it's one of those days. It's just
Yeah.
have to you gotta go drown your sorrows and cast in some line and
Well, yeah. Not to go ahead and add salt to injury, but right after that, I went out for a Sunday morning Bloody Mary brunch.
ugh.
Hey,
Rub it
things
in,
I got to
Bob.
do when I'm in North Carolina. You know what I'm saying?
Rub it in, Bob. Rub it in.
But it was a
Jeez.
lot of fun. But anyway, this week's been a kind of decent week. We're going to have a hot week coming up. It definitely flipped from spring to summer real quick. I'm telling you, it was, just a couple days ago, wasn't it? Like in the 60s?
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
pay
something like
attention,
that. But
honestly.
anyway, uh, we we kind of wanted to talk about a couple things today, and one of them is probably one of the things that close and dear to our heart as realtors, because it does a great job in helping us do our job. And that's one of the documents that we use. Matter of fact, it's a form that's probably the most used one in what we do, yet it's not a contract.
No.
What the heck's up with that?
So it's like and actually to top it off, it's the only form that's required by the state of Maine.
Yeah.
And it's not a contract. We
Not
call
a
it the brokerage
contract.
relationship form, Bob.
Yep.
I'm gonna pull this thing up over here. Give me a second. We should have pulled it up before.
So Zach's going to pull up the broker relationship form. Like he's saying, it's probably one of the most important forms that we actually have. That we use. And go ahead and talk a little bit about it, Zach.
So the funny thing is, this form is merely to explain our jobs as agents to the consumer. Each side kind of represents a different thing. I wish I could blow it. I wish I could make it small and still be legible. But at the end of the day, there's one key that most people miss. When you talk to a real estate agent, did you know there's no confidentiality owed until you're a client?
That's right. Yeah. So don't tell me about that divorce that's pending.
No.
Before you're a client.
No, definitely. Don't tell us what you want for the house. Don't tell us what your end game is. You want to hire somebody before you start discussing this, because essentially, if we're playing poker with you and we end up on the buyer's side, we have to disclose everything we know about you and the property if we don't represent you.
Yeah. So that's the important part between being a customer and being a client. And talk a little bit about those differences, Zach.
Yeah. So we'll look at this right here. So right now, as a customer, we only have to disclose all material defects pertaining to the physical condition of the real estate that is known by the licensee. So if we know there was a flood there and it was public knowledge, we have to share it. Yeah. If there was a flood there and we know there's watermarks on the walls, if we see that there's a staining in the ceilings, we have to share that. But we don't have to share that we know there's a marijuana facility being built up across the street.
Mm-hmm.
Or we don't need to share that we know that the neighbor just bought their property and they're turning it into a dog kennel.
Right.
We don't have to share that, but as a client, we do, because those are oh man, I lost my words. Non-material defect. I'll think about it by the end of it. Anyways, those type of defects. So just knowledge that doesn't have to do with the property, we don't have to share unless you're a client. Right. As a customer, though, we only have to disclose material defects, which are actual defects of the property itself. So things that you can see, things that we know. We don't have to share knowledge about what's going on around it. The other thing,
material defects rather than factual defects.
Of course. The other thing is we have to treat buyers and sellers honestly and not willingly give false information. So we can't lie to you saying, well, geez, you would have listed me with me, you would have got 100,000 more, knowing that we know you're not going to get 100,000 more. We can't say stuff like that. The other thing is we still owe in a situation, even if we're not representing you, say you're just a customer and we're just helping you with a transaction, we still owe to account for all money and property received on behalf of the buyer or seller. So any earnest money deposits, any of that, we're still accountable for all accounting of the transaction itself. And the other
we still have fiduciary duties.
Yes. The other thing, the last piece, is to comply with all state and federal laws related to relationship brokerage activity. I would say common sense, but as we all know, sense is not common. It depends where you come from. Matters your background. As we all say, the only common sense is when you touch that hot pan of cookies, it's hot.
You realize real fast.
Oh yeah, but knowing me, I touched that pan like 5 times because those peanut butter cookies my mom made were amazing. The cool thing is when you do become a client, though, on the flip side of it, when you do become a client, we are able to perform the terms of our agreement. So that is a listing agreement or a buyer rep agreement. For seller clients, this means the agent will put the seller's interest first and negotiate to the best price and terms for the seller. This doesn't mean we choose, though. You choose. So we just guide, you advise, you choose.
I think that's one of the big things that people really do need to understand is that our role really is not to go ahead and tell you what to do or make the decisions for you, more importantly, on what to do. Ours is really to go ahead and just help to educate, advise, and put out the best options for you, and then say, okay, this is how I think, but what would you like to do? And leave the decision making up to the customer, the client.
But honestly, at the end of the day, the biggest difference is the confidentiality piece.
Yeah.
Knowing that because we don't represent you, we could flip it around and use it against you. Okay, so anyways, Bob, so the biggest thing with this is the fact that the confidentiality piece is a huge deal. Like I said, when it comes to buying and selling a home, there is a lot of negotiation strategy. Don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, with the market we're in, there is a lot of situations where there's just several buyers, so it really doesn't help. It's more or less just going in at your best bet as much as what you're feeling comfortable doing. But having an agent there to guide you and represent you, this is where, as a buyer, this is where you want an agent. You want an agent to make sure that you're not putting an offer out there that super exceeds what the value is, and then coming back and getting an appraisal, and then the seller saying, I don't think so, dude. You offered me $50,000 more. Your property only values for $30,000 less. So you still have a $30,000 gap. That seller does not have to sell to you if that value doesn't make there. Right. So again, you just wasted possibly inspection money. So there's $350 to $1,000 right there, and then you're talking another $600 to $800 for an appraisal. So you could be out to almost $2,000 just for making a ridiculous offer just to secure a home. So having an agent there to guide you through that and possibly go back in the system to look at the comparables, because that's what appraisers are looking for. When appraisers are going to a property, they're not going there to put a value on the property in a purchase. They're merely taking that contract, going to the property, and then checking for comparables to make sure they can get that property to that value and make sure it values up to that point. Give you, like I said, in 15 years, I've only seen one appraisal that came up ridiculously above what they were purchasing the property for.
Yeah, because even if the actual appraised value is much higher, usually they're looking to just shoot for what the lender's looking for.
Well, so the case that I was talking about, it was a foreclosure property. We were able to get it through Purchase Plus Improvement, and the market was a lot different back then too. There was a lot more homes, but the only reason why that appraisal came up high is because your comparables were all that high. But in a typical situation, when you're buying a home, you're going to see your appraisal come back at maybe at cost or 500, a couple thousand above, but you're not going to see ridiculous 80,000 above, typically, because essentially sellers want as much money as they can get out of their home. They're not going to sell it to you because, well, if it's not moving, obviously that's the case. But I don't know about you, Bob. I'm not seeing that these days.
No, not a lot. I mean, unless we're getting up into the more expensive echelons, honestly, in the lower price ranges, I mean, it's just things are going so quick still. We are one of those markets that, that is still in that buyer's market phase. Other areas not so much so, but we are certainly one of them.
Yep, no, for sure. And I'm just trying to pull that document back up, but it also goes into the form also goes into disclosed dual agency. Disclosed dual agency can be a good thing.
What is a dual disclosed agency?
Well, that
sounds like 007 kind of stuff.
It kind of is in a way, because at the end of the day, disclosed dual agency is when the agent works for both the buyer and seller.
How the heck do you do that?
It can be a very, very tough situation. All right, Bob, I got this back up. I'm sorry. Let's see.
No, you're fine.
Ooh.
Back to the folder.
That's not the screen I want. Let's see.
Go ahead and have the ability to share a different screen.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. Oh, stop sharing. Here we go.
And then share that particular screen.
Where is it? That's the next question.
The fun with technology.
I know you're gonna love tech.
Keep learning on this thing. Going back and forth, trying to make sure that we can use different things from different areas, but we don't use it enough where we remember where they are.
Well, the funny thing is that it's funny. The page. Oh, there's the page. Okay. All right.
Yeah, just gotta get up a blank one.
Okay. I just had to. All right, I got this now. I had to find the page it was on.
Okay.
Page. All right.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things when you're using these streaming programs that we use to go ahead and get it out to various channels that we use. Is that you got to push certain buttons and set up screens a certain way, and technology doesn't always work the way you want it to.
Nope. Let's see. What am I doing? All right, here we go. Document.
I just feel, Zach, throughout this whole thing, I should have some ZZ Top music going on in the background.
It wouldn't be a bad thing. I wouldn't mind. All right, it's in here. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Okay, here we go. I got it now. I got it, guys. I'm sorry. I got it. Let's see.
You sure?
Yes. All right. So anyway, we talked about what your rights as a customer are and what you are, what happens when you become a client, but we didn't talk about dual disclosed agencies. So disclosed dual agency is one of those things that's kind of up in the air where it's like it's an okay thing to do, but it's tough to do because at the end of the day, clients got to realize that when somebody's doing dual disclosed agency, it's very limited. There's no representation. You can't share to your buyer client that your seller wants to sell for less, or you can't basically tell motivations of why they want to buy and why they want to sell. You can't discuss negotiating strategies either. The other downside to it, it's not what you can't do, it's more or less what you have to do. So if say you're a seller and you've been complaining about your neighbor this whole time, well, at the end of the day, your agent, now that's representing the buyer, has to tell the buyer that the neighbor's a pain too.
So basically what you're saying, Zach, is that as a dual disclosed agent, that one agent, say it's myself,
Yep.
I'd be representing both the seller on the listing side,
Yep.
as well as the buyer that's trying to buy that property
Yep.
as well. So I'd actually be representing both sides of the coin.
At a limited capacity.
At a limited capacity. There you go.
At a limited capacity. So it's not the fact of what you can't share with each other. It's more or less what you have to share with each other.
Right.
That's the down point. And this is where if you're a seller and you know that there's a radiation clinic going in down the road, or electricity lines going in, or they're going to build a super highway, or there's an airport or marijuana grow, or actually the latest one I heard is being right next to a solar farm.
Yeah.
People not wanting to be next to those.
Yep.
That's where, if you're a listing agent and you're representing the buyer too, that's where we have to disclose to the buyer in that situation. So having somebody actually work dual disclose could be counterproductive to your cause as a seller and a buyer. Well, not really for the buyer. I think it'd be more benefit for the buyer because now they're entitled to more information in a way.
In a lot of ways, you're right. It tends to lean more towards the buyer than the seller. I mean, obviously, there's information you can provide about the buyer to the seller, but I think the information, as far as the advantageousness of it, tends to lean towards the buyer, unfortunately. So dual disclosed agency, I'll be honest with you. My personal feeling on it is I don't really care to do them. I don't enjoy doing them. Actually, I don't believe I've actually never been involved in one. The only situation I could probably see myself doing it, because I might feel that I could do a good job for both people involved, is if it might be like a family member or something like that, where they're both of like mind. They both have an understanding. An inheritance, for instance, might be a good example of that. Other than that, I don't know that I would find myself in a situation like that myself, Zach. How about you?
Personally, I don't care for doing dual disclose.
Yeah.
Just based on the fact that I feel like, everything is great until it's not.
Yeah, I agree.
It's all great until one party gets upset with you, and then it's a whole soul shenanigans. Personally, I'd much rather have somebody else on the other side. It's almost like, would you hire an attorney to represent both sides?
Yeah. So honestly, what we would generally do in that situation would be, we would go ahead and talk to the seller or the buyers, and talk to them about possibly working with one of the other agents in our agency. For instance, if I had both of them, I might ask you to step in to go ahead and represent the buyer in that situation while I continue representing the seller. That would make sense, right?
Yes. So a lot of times, so that's usually what I'll do is as a listing agent, I'll still show my property, but as you know, Bob, I try to give any buyers for my listings to the other agents in the office.
Correct.
Just because I don't like the idea of doing dual disclose.
Right.
Because I feel like every party should have representation.
Yeah.
Correct representation.
Yeah. And more often than not, it's when you have a listing that's your listing, and people are calling you about it, that you'd wind up getting involved in a situation like this. But again, usually, in most cases, you'll never run into this, because I think the majority of the realtors I've spoken to as well kind of feel the same way on this subject. A few that don't, but the majority I've spoken to kind of feel the same way we do, Zach.
But again, like I said, majority do. Everybody kind of feels different. Everybody has different skills too, and I'm not going to doubt it, because there probably are agents out there that do a good job with it. But for us, like I said, what the biggest thing that we want to do is make sure you as a consumer understand how our jobs work. To make sure that when you're going out there, you're getting the best knowledge possible. Yeah.
Back in the day, that was pretty much the only way business was done. It's kind of like a dual disclosed agency.
Actually, it's fun.
I don't know what it was called, but it was kind of similar.
It wasn't even that, Bob. Actually, back in the day, everybody represented the seller. There was no
exactly, and you became a sub agent of the seller. Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there was no buyer representation. So, like I said, everybody's so against buyer representation, but keep in mind, buyer representation is such a great thing.
The buyer is the one that needs to be protected.
No, they do, because they're buying this investment. They're spending so much money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people wonder why lenders are so very finicky about what they lend to and the different criteria they keep coming up with. It's because they don't want to be screwed. They're giving out a lot of money, hoping that a stranger that they don't know is going to pay that money back.
Exactly. So that next piece shaded in gray on the form, Zach, I think that and that statement right below it, I think really a great statement, because it really identifies the need, in my opinion, to be a client versus a customer.
Right. And again, unless you enter into a written agreement for agency representation, you are a customer, not a client.
Yeah.
The other the other interesting fact too is understanding what kind of agencies you go into too.
Mhm.
The one thing we skipped up here is there's two different types of agencies in the state of Maine. There might be more, but these are pretty much the common ones. You have an appointed agency and single agency. And
Mhm.
it's funny, Bob, it didn't click with me until this, but you really can't be an appointed agency until you get past 4 agents
Yep.
within one company.
Okay. Yep.
And what makes for agencies three and under, realize everything in house is dual disclosed if they sell every house in house.
Right.
Isn't that?
Yeah. No. Yeah. You're right. So no, that does make more sense.
Yeah, it's funny. So keep in mind when you are going to a single agency, pretty much everything's dual disclosed in house, because single agency means that you don't have an appointed agent from the agency. Everybody is an agent for you in that house.
So basically, if you start dealing with me if we were a single agency, which we're not, but if we were, and you started dealing with me, and then you call in looking for information, Zach picks up the phone. Now you're representing and answering the questions, and then you got another question the day following, and Kate answers the phone. So we're all representing you, and in my opinion, again, not
the technicality
represented properly.
Yeah, it turns into a little bit of a mess, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, all 3 of us or all 2 of us or however many of us, we all should know what's going on with every customer / client.
We would need to, yeah.
Right. So it becomes kind of a mess. That's why I prefer appointed agency,
Yeah.
just because you have one single contact, and then you have a managing broker to go to if you have issues at that point.
Yeah, and honestly, from an agent standpoint, I prefer being an appointed agent because I prefer to work with my client right from day one, right on through the closing and thereafter, and not have anybody else be a part of, other than in a situation like it happened during my vacay, where you had to step in and kind of help out on something, but
Well, it's okay,
you
Bob.
weren't the
It's okay,
go-to
Bob.
person.
I just ended up moving stuff. It's all good.
What's that?
I just ended up moving some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So we make it happen. But I like being the one that's dealing with that client from point A to point Z.
Yep. No,
Yep.
it definitely is. It makes it more of a situation where everybody's happy. It makes it more of a situation where things are more controlled, and it makes it easier to make that relationship better. To
Right.
really work on that customer agent relationship, it really works well with one agent, not 4,
Yep.
maybe 2 agents. Don't get me wrong, teams are great too, because then you have a couple people in there that are helping, and yeah. So
Yeah. If you got an agent that's on the ball, you don't need a team. that's my take on it. Not to say no. Now let me retract that. Actually, okay.
I was going to
Not that
say,
we don't build teams because we do. Everybody that's in the process on the thing is part of the team, but I don't need 5 other real estate agents to go ahead and help me get from point A to point B.
no, exactly. But like I said, having one agent and then bringing in a helper if need be here and there is good.
Yeah.
But having 5, if you have an agency of 5 agents and everybody had to be the agent, I just don't know how it would work. But
Well,
it does work.
Not only that, but you got to retain information that of 5 people's clients.
Yeah, but it does.
You got 5 times the amount of work that you got to put into it as well. So,
but again, it does work for some agencies.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Glad we're not one of them.
Well, that's why we're the way. But at the end of the day, guys, if you have questions in regards to real estate, what do we say? Talk is free.
Talk is free.
Give us a call. We're here to help you. We're consumer first friendly. We're here to help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing we want to do is make sure that we help you through your journey. That's the most important part of what we do. We want to get you to where you want to go, and the biggest part of that is starting off by listening. Making sure that we have the right information so that we can direct you in the right direction. So as Godzilla walks through the picture here. So yeah, as Zach said, the best thing to do to start the process is just give us a call. Talk is free, and we'd love to go ahead and talk to you. So yeah, give us a call this week.
Yep. Today. Call today.
Yeah, call today.
I might be out fishing, but I'll answer the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't drop the phone in the water, Zach.
I've never done it yet, but let's not start there.
Right, exactly.
But
right,
hey,
so,
until next
do you
time.
have anything else you want to cover, Zach?
No. I'm gonna let these guys go enjoy the day.
Yeah. So again, kind of circling back, probably the most important document that we use in our real estate transactions because it helps you understand what we do and what our responsibilities are to you, and allows you to go ahead and get the proper representation that you need so that you can make the right decisions. So till next time, guys, expect an amazing day. And again, call us. Talk is free. All right. So take care. Have a great day. Enjoy.